Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anderson9132 and we are back. The RoboCast has returned for 2019. I know it's been so long since we've actually recorded one of these, but here we are. Nonetheless, we have something to talk about. I'm joined alongside, as ever,
Anderson9132 the Rules Guru,
and Steve the American Killjoy.
Gents, where have you been?
I don't know.
Sleeping or high. One of those two.
Sleep,
really.
Something like that. Anyway, something like that.
Marriage, it trains you, man.
I imagine it would do. So today,
Better call Guinness. You got some kind of world record going on there.
So I imagine, obviously, people judging by the title of the video will know that we're talking about the Unaired Fights of BattleBots Season 3. But before we actually get onto that, obviously it's been fairly recently announced in the last couple of weeks that there will be Season 4. What do we think? What are we hoping for going forward for the fourth instalment of BattleBots reboot? Anderson, take it
wow, Season 4, Season Poor. That's what I'm saying. No, I'm joking, of course. Sorry, bad joke out the way. I'm actually really looking forward to it because obviously Season 3 blew me away. I was completely shocked at how good Season 3 was. I honestly didn't rate it before I watched it, and I was pleasantly surprised. There's obviously some things that were a bit miffing. The clarity of the rules, it seemed to jump up and down a bit. Hopefully they'll be a bit clearer with those this time around. Maybe there'll be some new rules that will make a bit more sense, because some rules didn't really make sense last time. But at the end of the day, thoroughly looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to seeing what robots come back this year. I'm looking forward to seeing what new faces turn up. I'm looking forward to seeing Duck win. So, yeah.
Finally.
Yeah, so I can just give two massive middle fingers up to all the wet wipes out there who think it's just a pusher. That was a genuine.
I'm gonna want that on repeat on like a soundboard, please.
That's gonna be my alarm to wake me up in the morning. That is.
Yeah, that's a new ringtone for people, isn't it?
Yeah.
No, I am, but in all honesty, I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. I'm just looking forward to seeing some robot mayhem again. It's been a while, and I miss it. I really do. So I look forward to it.
Yep.
We've had BuggleBots to kind of segregate us for a while.
Yes, obviously. We did have BuggleBots. Yeah, sorry.
For those out there wondering about BuggleBots, obviously, we haven't covered it really. A few people have asked, where are we going to cover it? We are going to cover it, but we're going to cover it as a series rather than as individual episodes. So that is coming eventually, if we get ourselves organised. But
with how long it took to get this organised, I mean,
God, right.
We've been planning this since.
Can I just say, by the way, I was the only one who was consistently organised for this. These two morons kept screwing me over royally. I turned up at 7 o'clock every Saturday for the last 3 or 4 weeks, saying, "Right, ready to do it? Oh wait, I forgot. Or oh shit, I can't do it. Oh crap, we went to do it today."
Right.
It was a long 4 to 5 weeks.
We've been putting this off for a long time. Anyway, with regard to BuggleBots, we are going to cover it eventually. Just patience. It's happening eventually. All right.
Give us 7 or 8 months.
When BuggleBots podcasts. That's it. There you go. That was topical, wasn't it? Steve, Season 4. What do you want to see happen?
Wow. Well, when it got announced, like when I saw the picture post up, with like that picture of Farouk taking the picture of the crowd, and like when I saw that picture, and they said that 4 is getting filmed. I jumped out of my pants. I mean, my American pants, not British pants, like actual like shorts, not my actual, you know what I mean. But I'm really excited to see it happen. I've actually gotten a chance to meet some of the teams that are going, because there's a lot of teams in Florida, and I go to events around the state, and I mean, they're all really excited. I mean, a lot of it's hush hush. I'm sure a few of them have known it's been going on. I know I talked with Will Bales in Orlando. I've talked with Kurt Durgin when I went to his competition down in Stewart, Florida. I mean, they all seem genuinely excited, and it's I mean who wouldn't be? But for what I want to see this season, see, it's going to be confusing when we talk about, because you guys talk about 4. It's really the 9th season, even though because the old series had the .0. was 4.0, 5.0, 3.0. That's how they split it up, all that thing. So it's going to be a little confusing for searching this.
Yeah.
Because you're going to bring up stuff like what was popular when Season 4.0 came out. Oh yeah, Waiachi came back and blew itself up into a pulverizer. That was fun.
We'll call it BattleBots 2019.
2019.
Yeah, 2019.
Because that's probably one of the things that people be looking for.
Yeah.
But for stuff I want to see. I mean, I just want to see almost more of the same of 3, because Season 3 was, barring a couple nagging rule related things, which we've talked about thoroughly. I just want to see more of what we had. We had a lot of good fights. We had a lot of really good fight cards. I know that's coming back. I'd like to see the Desperado tournament again. That was a nice little change of pace.
Yep.
I mean. I guess, yeah, I want them to be more upfront with rules and stuff like that instead of posting a video the night before one of the biggest fights of the year and then having people get all, like, gobsmacked when something like that happens.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they got that all sorted out. They know what happened last time, so they're prepared for stuff like that now. Like, it's a learned experience.
Yeah.
But I want to see more of the same. I want to see carnage. I want to see destruction. I want to see Duck win.
Yes.
Well, I'm gonna make it
a foul play.
Oh.
Yeah. But I mean, I want. I want to see some upstarts. I want to see I want to see we had Valkyrie this season that did really, really well. We had Rotator come back as a bot that hadn't done well the previous season. I'm sure there's a couple that hadn't done well in Season 3 that should rebound for or maybe fold in on themselves. Who knows? But yeah, I'm just excited. That's all I want to know. That's all I want to see.
I echo both of your sentiments. I mean, so the only thing I've really changed, I think the fight card format works fantastically well. I think the fights were really
TV.
Yeah, exactly. It was really good. It was good for building story and building character. The only thing I think, which I'd like to see, is obviously last time around there were 3 one-shot fights to get into the bracket. If they do that again, I like maximum 2 for me.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think the Desperado tournament worked really well, and I think that the final Rumble worked really well. My only concern was that obviously that took 2 spots up. That's fine, but then the third one with Endgame.
Trying to weed out some of the spinners. I get it.
Yeah, I think that's another thing we've got to look out for. Is I know it's difficult because spinners seem to be the most effective meta at the moment, and I think that's very much the case. I'd like to see a smaller look at the spinners. There's so many varied designs. You look at say for example Duck. We talked about Duck a lot today. Duck it's different. It offers it's a big brick with a lifter. It works well. Things like. I don't know, things like Overhaul. I want to see more things like, very, just, not necessarily I don't want to say easy because, robots aren't easy in general, but the general meta that there is at the moment, I want to see more, variety. That's what
Talk about shaking up the meta. I mean, Double Jeopardy coming back again, and they're going to have multiple shots. And it's like stuff like that. I'd like this, it's going to be cool to see evolution with these teams. Because, I mean, that's the one thing that's cool about this sport is that it's constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Even though there's metas that dominate, of course, but if you're a good enough driver, you can beat any design. You just have to. Every design has weaknesses. There's no perfect design, and we've talked about that before.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, it's so. I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm just excited to see what comes out of the woodwork. It's going to be very interesting to see. I hope we get to see some good old faces. Teams like Beta come back. I'd love to see Beta back in the box.
Yes.
I'd love to see
Britannia.
Good old John Reed. I'd like to see machines like that come back.
Yeah.
I'd like to see. Who else would I like to see come back?
With robots with so much side armor protection, a hammer really does have a good chance, honestly.
Okay, so Beta's mine. Pick another robot that you'd really, that wasn't in Season 3 that you'd really like to come back.
Nightmare.
And Anderson.
Just for spectacle.
Seriously.
Just for spectacle. I mean, it's not. We know it's not the most effective. It hasn't won a championship, and it's been there since the beginning. Yeah. So it's just iconic.
I suppose, yeah. There's like a legend status.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you want them to come back. I mean, what's a good Robot Wars parallel? Like a bot that always showed up that never really did super well.
Actually, speaking of robots that always turn up and never did well, how about Terahertz, Sam?
Yeah, well,
Series
6 they found something.
We'll move on. Anderson, what would you like to see come back?
The name escapes me. Is it T-Rex? Rex, that little walker?
Oh, Rex.
Yeah, Rex was cool. The gyroscopic possession robot.
Cool idea. Or something like maybe like Tentamushi.
Oh,
like
Mega Tento, yes.
Because those are just awesome. They're really cool. I mean, okay, they're not. I mean, well, Mecha Tento is pretty useful, but obviously I know Rex isn't the most, But as far as originality goes and changing the field, you can't look any different to robots like that.
Yeah.
We need more machines like that in robot combat.
Mm-hmm.
We needed a successor to Complete Control, Anderson. That's what we really need.
Yes.
Anyway. Yes.
Well,
Sorry, Complete Control makes me tingle in place there.
I knew that would get you.
We'll move on from hopes for season 4. We'll move on from hopes for season 4, and we'll move on to what we've actually come here to discuss, which is
what didn't get aired. The stuff that they didn't think was interesting.
The deleted fights. Now, some of them are really good fights. Some of them are less good fights.
2 of them are good.
I would argue 3. Okay, but we'll start off with one that wasn't so great. Which is Valkyrie and Ultimo Destructo. You can see this is clearly a fight where you can see the teething issues of Valkyrie. They hadn't quite got it right yet, and
the weapon shaft fell out it just kind of spun in place.
Well, that's what I found really interesting. So obviously Valkyrie immobilized itself.
Yeah.
And to me, what it looks like is when the disc isn't spinning, the robot can't move. I found that quite interesting. So like the force of the disc is what makes it sit low enough on the ground to drive, or like the way that the wheels are positioned, it didn't seem like it was able to maneuver with the disc. I'd love it if the Valkyrie team could fill us in on that one, because that's what it appears like on the video. I don't know whether that's actually the case.
My guess would be that I mean they're running brushless on that spinner.
Yes.
With how brushless motors are assembled, I assume. Well, I don't know. Sometimes I've sseen people actually replace the shaft with like a bolt that bolts on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible a nut sprung loose, or I know they use a C clip on the other side to kind of keep the shaft in place. Maybe that snapped off and the whole thing kind of fell out. And all you got to do is lift Valkyrie up just a little bit, and then it's off. It was a really odd way for it to die. But I mean, this fight happened so long ago.
Yes.
But it was a really weird way to go. And then there's Ultimo. Ultimo was there too.
Ultimo.
I love Sean Irvin and his designs. It's such a pretty robot. I love the color scheme.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yellow, green, and black is a very common Florida theme, I guess.
Yes.
But it just didn't have the oomph.
Can we just appreciate how dangerous Ultimo Destructo's spinner was in this fight?
I mean,
it made Little Fly look like Carbide, for Christ's sake.
Or Chrome Fly.
Yeah, or Chrome Fly.
Yeah.
And now, I mean, what annoys me is that because Ultimo Destructo won this, I guess you could say was a way. This was one of the reasons why Valkyrie didn't make it into the 16 bracket, which is just unforgivable. So,
I mean, as we mentioned already, this was early on when I think there were very much teething issues with Valkyrie as a. It's suffering from that new build. Hasn't been tested quite right, and there's still a few issues to iron out. But we saw how it got on later. We'll see it again.
Yeah.
Later.
There's a fight coming up where it really comes into its own.
We'll talk about that in just a second. But this fight, it was a bit of a damp squib, wasn't it? Really, there wasn't much going on in terms of this fight. But next fight's a bit more interesting. It sees Rotator and Predator. Now, when we had Craig Danby on last year, when we were talking about this, he said he had a fight with someone else who kicked their teeth in. It was again very clear that Rotator kicked his teeth in. He really did.
Predator drives in circles really, really well.
Yeah, I mean, again, we know that there was many issues with Predator. I think Predator arrived a week late or something stupid because it got lost at an airport, and then they had to literally rebuild it on site. And this is pretty much the first time they'd ran it at all. You know, it was very much fresh out the box.
Yeah,
you can kind of see that. You know, you can kind of see that. You know,
after all that, just seeing it move in the box is probably just reward enough.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would have been nice to see. I mean, you got some pretty sparks in this fight. About like a minute and a half in, you got some pretty sparks from Rotator, and then there's a huge gut ripping shot at some point that just takes Predator out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things. Yeah, Craig's a really nice guy. I got to meet with him over in Barry Maker Fair in Orlando, and I got to see the really shiny new Foxic. And it's a really neat machine. I actually got to see it up against there's a robot down here called Mammoth.
Oh, that's such a funny fight.
It was such a funny fight with just it over the top of Foxic and just can't get away. That was so cool to see. Yeah. Just to see Mammoth actually fit into the arena that we have down here.
Yeah.
was scary. The fact it was able to spin its bar. Oh man.
It's so great. I mean, it was so
great. I mean, we could talk about Mammoth later.
Yeah. We'll save that for another day. But yeah, Anderson, much to add with Rotator and Predator. I mean, it was pretty brutal, you know.
It was brutal, and it had spectacle without much substance. And you know me, I don't get me wrong, I like spectacle. I can get on with spectacle. I like my battles to have a bit more of a battle to them.
Yeah.
But I guess, but you know, at the end of the day, if you're not going to get that, at least get something out of it. And this did give us something. So it's not something which is awful. It was actually quite enjoyable. It was a shame to see such a beautiful robot like Predator get torn apart because it is a pretty machine.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the rule of robot combat. You're going to get mullered if you don't work, and unfortunately, that's what happened. So
I think it would have done better if they hadn't changed this name from Fenrir. I think it would have had a better time.
Well, I don't know if that was. I can't remember if it was.
Is it because the American public can't pronounce that word?
It might have been. I can't remember. I remember he said something about it, but I can't remember. So I won't.
Oh, it's got rear in the name. We can't have that.
Oh, damn! If only it was past the watershed. Damn it.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
America is weird, yo. It's a weird country.
It is a strange country. We'll move on to happier times for Predator.
Yes.
And it's a tag team fight. I believe this was for the US versus the World episode in whenever that was.
And apparently tagging isn't a thing. Just like Robot.
Yes, it was 2v2 rather than a tag team, so to speak.
Yeah.
You couldn't even get that right. Jesus.
Yeah. I mean,
I suppose that makes it more fun, to be fair.
Yeah, all four robots in at once, but it's 2v2 rather than just tag team. And the battle is between Petunia and Predator, the teams representing the world, and the two robots representing the US are Bale Spear and Double Dutch. I mean, it's a pretty interesting fight. You know, there's a lot of variety in the weaponry, and there's a lot of variety in the designs. I mean, you know, you can't really get much different than Petunia and Bale Spear. They look nothing like each other. It just shows, you know, the variety that there is in the field.
Yeah.
And it was a really good fight, and you know, Predator, you know, kept going, it kept doing its thing. Petunia, by this point, obviously, you can see it had to replace its claw because it got absolutely shagged by Monsoon, and I think was it Rotator it fought as well.
Yeah.
No, it beat Rotator. Who did it lose to? It lost to someone else. It was another big spinner. It was Yeti, wasn't it?
What in BattleBots? There's quite a lot of them, Sam.
Yeah,
I mean,
it lost to. Was it Yeti? It lost to as well. I can't remember.
I think.
I can't remember.
We're professional, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm supposed to be the BattleBots expert. I should know this.
I know Monsoon give it a good kick in, but I can't remember who else beat Petunia. It because it went 2-2, didn't it?
You know what's gonna happen?
Oh yeah, it was Yeti because it beat Shredderator and it lost to Yeti.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeti.
Monsoon Yeti.
Yeti by a KO. Yep.
Yeah. So it got a good kick. You know, two big spinners like Monsoon and Yeti. It got a good kick in. So it's obviously had to repair hastily. Mm-hmm. Predator, as we mentioned, it had its issues early on. Double Dutch recovering from a fight with Gigabyte, which is where it lost both its weapons and got spewed across the box really, and obviously Bale Spear being Bale Spear. It was a good fun fight. There wasn't much. In terms of hardcore action, as you might say, but it was a good driving match between all four machines. I think they all kept running to the end.
Predator died at the end.
I did.
Yeah, and
And-
Bale Spear died, I think, at around like I don't know, 3:45 in the video I have written here. But battery knocked loose and like the headlights out. I mean, that's going to be a citation.
Basically,
obviously.
it was at the end. By the end, it was Double Dutch versus Petunia.
Yeah,
And
with what Double Dutch, it's weapons, man.
Oh Christ, yeah. I mean, I was a bit disappointed with Double Dutch because it looked really, really cool. It was it was a bit stupid of an idea, but it was a fun-looking idea, and I thought, oh, this could be really, really cool. It was more disappointing than I am to my parents. You know, it was.
Jesus Christ. That's emotional.
There we go. No, yeah. In all fact, yeah, it was a bit of a shame. I mean, this battle was all right. It struggled because there was enough action from all machines, but none of the action from either machine really was much. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So while it was technically a good battle between all the robots, there wasn't really much going on in the battle.
Yeah.
So it's sort of it's not terrible, but it's sort of just it happened. You know, it's there. It doesn't have a lasting effect. If anything, it's actually the battle I remember the least.
Yeah.
Just because at least the other ones have something.
Yeah,
and I guess Double Dutch weapons falling off counts, but you know they always fell off. So,
well, yeah, and I mean, there's a couple more fights that we're gonna go over that Double Dutch is in, and I think Double Dutch is as a design, it's an interesting design, but I think because you talk about with bar spinners where not only do you have to have it spinning at a certain speed to get the right energy out of it, you also have to have a good amount of bite. Where it's able to actually get something and throw it. With two going against each other, you kind of lose that bite, and it kind of turns into more of a
pinch.
And it's possible that you're able to get them stuck between both blades, but the rarity of that happening, if you add more bars, like say you had three spinning around at each other, all at different points in their rotation, you're almost spinning a drum. You're almost spinning a solid disc the more bars you add. So you're kind of decreasing your bite. So I think that kind of hurt Double Dutch, but it's such a kooky design.
Yeah,
like who thinks to do something like that?
It's still it looks wonderful, but I think we did say when we first saw it at the very start of our season 3, you know, previews and such, we kind of said it looks cool, but we don't think it's going to be too effective. But you know, learning lessons, I suppose, for the future with Double Dutch, and then in the end, it was the world that picked up the win. You know,
unanimously too, which I guess I'm not exactly against.
You know,
but yeah.
I think Petunia's control really helped in this. You know, I think the fact that it was the most influential design and influential robot in the fight certainly helped it.
Yeah.
We'll move on to a second tag team match.
Oh no!
Which I'm sure you're familiar with, and I'm sure we know why it was edited the way it was.
So,
for the show.
Actually, do you know what? This is actually the first time we're going to see one of these robots because it was never the only one out of all 55 competitors that never appeared on the TV show. Parallax.
It's sad.
Parallax is here, ladies and gentlemen. Finally.
Yeah.
It's such a shame because Parallax looked beautiful.
It
really looks good. I mean, and I thought, and it looked, and did you hear it? The drum when it spun up, it sounded. Yeah. Oh my god!
I've with my own team, to Death Flamingo, we've actually fought Parallax a couple of times now. And it's a decent little machine. You know, certainly, you know, it zips around quite nicely. You know, the drums. Obviously, you know, we didn't get to see its full whack in the live event arena, but it's certainly you know it certainly give a good twist to a Flamingo chassis, but so we see it in a tag team with Bale Spear, and they take on Basilisk and Double Dutch, which is quite the team.
Quite the team.
Let's digest this fight. I mean,
can we just quickly take a second to appreciate something?
Yeah.
Basilisk actually flipped something.
I know.
It
great.
did.
I wrote that here. Basilisk's flipper actually works.
I have to say, you know, as much as you know,
the term "flipped" is a bit generous, but you know.
I mean, hey, it by Series 3 standards, like pre-Chaos 2, it flipped.
Basilisk, we're gonna talk about Basilisk more later. I think we're gonna talk about Basilisk a lot more later. We'll leave it for now. We'll let it have its moment in the sun. Parallax, you know, did a bit of zipping around. I think Was it this fight or was it the next fight where I had issues with the drum and inside pouring smoke
died,
out?
It died in both of them.
Oh, was it both of them? Okay.
It died at both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had a very. This is one problem, Parallax. It is about as reliable as a chocolate teapot. That is one problem.
Yeah.
But it's just it's such a shame. Again, really disappointed because it looked beautiful. It looked the part, and that drum sounded dirty.
Yeah.
Luke the captain, he's a really nice kid. You know, I had a word with him when we fought him before. You know, it's a shame that he didn't get to see his full potential. I think again, one of those where it suffers with that, you know, rushed build, possibly you know, unfinished, like untested. I think that didn't help.
Yeah.
You know, it's a shame that we didn't really get to see you know, more of it. We didn't get to see more of it in the show. I think that's a real shame. You know, didn't get to see it at all. You'd have thought they'd have at least had one fight for, you know.
Yes. Also, I just want to say I didn't know that Bale Spears tires doubled as snagging devices.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Genius. Genius.
You hear the tire pop from Double Dutch's hit. Whew. But I mean, of course, Double Dutch loses its blades again.
In a shock twist.
In a shock twist, it just pure one just goes, you know. But that was a glorious sound.
Yeah, it really was.
And then just like the last fight, I mean, Bale Spear is all over the place.
It does. Bale Spear does what it wants.
Absolutely.
It just gives no shits. It's amazing.
And then it just died again. It died again for no reason. Why did it die?
Probably just the amount of beating that it took. You know, it's obviously everything can only take so much hits, and just like before like something gives up, and must have just been on this occasion. There's not really much to say about this fight. It was a fight.
It was more like a tornado tag match. Like
yeah.
Wrestling, you know what I mean? It's constantly like the whole 2v2 thing.
Yeah.
Also, I mean, speaking of how this fight was edited, this was the fight that the dinosaur won.
It was. So if you remember back in season 3, at some point there was a was it Jurassic World again?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Jurassic World 2 or whatever it was. Jurassic World Fallen World. I can't remember.
Fallen Kingdom. Yeah.
That's the geezer. They did an advertisement for that in the middle of BattleBots, and you know, everyone was kind of like, oh wait, they just put an extra fight in there for no reason, and then this massive
because everyone steps away to get a drink, and it's like 3, 2, 1. It's like brr, 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 and you're like, hello.
And then this massive dinosaur foot slams through the floor, and everyone's just kind of like, oh damn, this was the fight they did it on.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It makes sense why they used it as that, because I mean, the fight itself was okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know.
Yeah. It was okay.
It was a boring, horrible fight, and nowhere but worked properly.
Yeah, I suppose so. But we'll move on. We'll move on to it. Parallax.
Onto an even more interesting fight.
Oh, as I said, I feel really bad for the Parallax guys because you know, obviously I know it's difficult. You know, it worked the whole fight. It ran the whole fight against Ultimo Destructo.
I feel bad for Ultimo because both of its wins this season are like meh.
Were
like
cut.
It didn't
and
do
they
a
were
whole
cut,
lot.
and they were cut as well. And they were both cut. And then the one fight where we saw it got absolutely, you know, ass blasted by Witch Doctor.
Yeah. So
that's the thing, though. Ultimo Destruction looks good when it loses. It doesn't look good when it wins.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, again, it's like I barely call this a win because obviously
it got. So the thing is, it got the hit. It got the big hit, and that's what mattered.
Yeah,
the powered weapon hit.
Parallax
worked.
barely worked again and started smoking more than my grandma.
Yeah.
And you know, we just the problem. I mean, well, in Ultimate Destruction, I mean, because it had the I'm not going to call it a flipper because it's not. I'm sorry, it just isn't.
It wasn't terrible.
Because it just managed to roll Parallax over barely.
It's 250
and then
some odd
drive
pounds
backwards and forwards fluently because for some reason... Did they lose control or something? Because like, for like last half of that battle, all they were doing was driving backwards and forwards. They could not turn the thing and save their life.
They might have lost left and right drive, whether it's like...
One thing about that, I noticed that in this fight where it doesn't turn well. I think it's the fact the wheelbase is just too long for it to be able to spin. You know what I mean? Like I'm thinking the tires rub. You know what I mean?
We did discuss this again at the start of the season. You know, Sean Irving went from a very wide robot with a short wheelbase to a very long robot and a very narrow robot with a long wheelbase. You know.
It would have benefited from car drive, you know what I mean?
Yeah, with a robot this long, I think it would have benefited from car steering.
Like
so
rack and pinion, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But Of the two, I wonder why he changed it so drastically. It's very strange to me. Like I get the logic behind it. You can fit pack more machinery into the middle, like but it's.
I'm thinking maybe because obviously, I mean, Original Sin.
Yeah.
And obviously, then of course that wasn't free shipping. They've got narrow designs with.
Yeah. And he designed those. Yeah.
They managed to design
those drive pods.
It's an amazing driver. So.
Right. And he designed those drive pods as long, I guess, to account for the weapon modules that go in the middle, because the bot's in 3 pieces basically.
Yeah.
Where you have the 2 drive pods, and then you have your weapon module in the middle that can be switched in and out.
After its fight with Witch Doctor.
I mean, you could just put it in a bin bag at that point.
As Steve, as you say, I do believe the reason why he did it is because for just like packing everything into the machine itself, it were able to fit more in or more effectively fit it in. But yeah, back to the drawing board. I think with Ultimo Destructo, it's a shame because as we all said, it looks the part. It looks really nice. It's I'm glad that he's gone away and he's done something different and done 3 interchangeable modules. That's really cool. Obviously, we had that with Bombshell before, but due to time limitations, we never got that this season. Whereas with this, we did. Yeah. And I like the design. I like it has potential. It just I think another case of rushed schedule, trying to get 3 sets of weapons ready for one robot as well probably didn't help. It's a lot to do, but it is what it is, and Ultimo got the win, and Parallax. This is their only other fight.
Yeah,
it's a shame really because as we said already, it's a nice looking little machine. I believe it still runs on the live circuit over in the UK at the moment. So
I'm surprised it runs after that expensive smoke show we saw at the end of this fight.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things, unfortunately, where teething issues of robots like Parallax. Who's going to say something?
Also, this was a split decision.
I know. I see why because I can see why because I think
the robot did anything.
Well, no. So Parallax was the one doing the chasing and was the more controlled machine of the two, but obviously Ultimo got the hitting with the weapon. And I think that's why it was a split decision. Ultimo technically got the quote unquote knockout punch and got the win as a result. But yeah, yeah. Should we move on to a good fight?
Yes, please. I'm begging
and Ultimo
you.
got another win.
Ultimo
getting smacked in the competition.
We'll move on to Overhaul and Valkyrie.
Yeah, so good.
Such a good fight.
TV, man.
I can only imagine they just didn't have space for it, because what a great fight this was. It was so good.
I have a theory as to why they might not have had it on the television.
Go on.
A robot theory.
Oh yeah. No, basically, the reason why, because obviously the powers to be in BattleBots, they like their winners looking big and bad and amazing and powerful and strong. 2 robots double KOing doesn't make either winner look strong.
True.
Maybe that might be why they decided to not air it. That's the only reason. That's the only thing I can think of.
I have another theory. Theory. So my theory is this was an audience fight for repair time over the final bracket. I think please someone correct me if I'm wrong.
So it's possible this was used to fill time.
Yeah, that's what I think. Is it so? Like I remember when
So this may have happened after the Last Chance Rumble.
Yeah, I believe it did, because obviously if you remember back to when Robot Wars was still filming, they did a lot of whiteboard.
Cried first time.
Yeah, they did a lot of whiteboards for when the grand final was happening to allow for repair time. I know teams like Eruption and Shockwave fought, and Behemoth and Gabriel fought a couple of times. Infernal Contraption and Eruption for some reason, but sure. But you get what I mean. These different teams all got different. Got fights extra to to fill time, and I suspect that's probably where this came in. But unless if Charles Swan's watching, let us know. Please tell us.
Yeah.
I'd love to know. But what a great fight this was. What a really good fight. While it lasted.
Yeah. Two very different designs. 2 very different styles going at it. The wheelie was brilliant.
Oh, it's so... And then decapitating Overhaul.
So, and of course, Overhaul getting damaged, so I'm going to fucking love it, aren't I?
The hit at about like a minute 40 in is so good. It throws them just across the arena, and then they both die. But I mean, it's.
Who
I mean,
cares?
if this was a whiteboard match, I guess it does make sense that they didn't last because it's. I mean, the competition was pretty grueling, as everybody knows. Yeah. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. But it's that mini bot got shredded, of course.
I know.
That's always going to win some points,
of course. And then I mean, please, Leanne, bring this robot back.
Yes,
please
honestly, Valkyrie's a robot like for me that's gone. Like it started off kind of like, oh, it's just it's just Valkyrie. Whereas now, like I would love to see Valkyrie come back in season.
Valkyrie's the reason why I changed my ant weight to an undercutter. It's just a cool thing to do, and it's still I mean it's with the whole meta being Drisk spinners and bar spinners and. I mean, you're kind of tweaking the formula a little bit by having the weapon low. I mean, this is why PP3D was somewhat successful in Robot Wars, where it was just such a different take. And their smaller robots, the foiled series are all pretty successable.
Yeah, they're all
and
nice
it's
designs.
yeah, they're all pretty good. So definitely needs to come back.
It's a beautiful piece of engineering as well. There's a lot going on in a small space. It's it looks nice. It's a robot that I really want to come back. Anderson.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say it's a really clever design as well. Like I like how the back of it, the spinners still capture that area.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
if the robot tries to get in behind, they still
not
get
completely defenseless.
Yeah,
it's really clever. It's brilliant. It's Valkyrie, and it needs to come back. And if it isn't in season 4, I'm going to personally fly over to America, find whoever's in charge, back them to his eyes.
Greg and Trey, please hide.
Please, I can't afford the plane tickets. Please, let them back in.
But if you want to fly us over there, I mean, so you
yeah. Can I stay at yours, Steve, just for a night or two?
My rooms are always open, man.
Yeah, I mean, these are two great teams. I think they're both part of the same university in the US. I believe Valkyrie's another subsect of that team, right?
Yeah, another MIT team. I think so.
I think they're another subsect of the original Overhaul team. I think. Correct me if I'm wrong again, but
yeah, it's been long enough that we've done one of these that I'm sure stuff has fallen out of our brains.
Yeah, but it's a really nice, really good battle between two teams that so different, but it just works really well. Another completely different style between two teams. You've got the Hypothermia versus the Four Horsemen. It sure was a fight.
It was a yawner, man. I don't know. Wedge deflects spinners next, please.
It was. I thought they had to have a moving weapon.
Again, this was probably later on in the competition where I don't know.
Filling time, sort of thing. It was all right.
It's difficult because again, it's a battle, and
I do think it was just an exhibition match.
Yeah, I think so.
But as far as driving goes, it's got good driving. As a battle goes, it's solid. No team gives up. But it's just again nothing stands out. It's a heavyweight wedge pushing around 3 featherweights.
Speaking of wedge, I think Fuzzy did note. I think there's a comment on this video where he actually lost judging points for over wedging. I don't know how that happens.
Over wedging.
I have to say. I do like Fuzzy's, super thick wheels, that he went with. Like that version of Hypothermia, that format looks super chunky and beefy. It looks like that's what I want to see in the main competition. The big boy.
That's how it looks in Robo games. Well, I mean, depending on what happens to that now.
No Robo games this year. That's sad.
It'll jump to another place.
I think so.
Kind of like where I just finally watched the second World Series episode of Robot Wars. And I don't know why I waited so long to watch it, but Fuzzy talked about his grill and robot fights place, which was super interesting.
I know.
But it totally wouldn't have worked as a business because fights only happen every 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's true.
But and then that arena went to go to California, and they had robo games, and it was fun. And now I don't know what's going to happen to that because someone's got to pick it up, man.
Yeah,
one day.
Hopefully soon. But as a fight, Hypothermia versus the Four Horsemen wasn't the most interesting. It was. I can see why they didn't include it in the final cut, but at least they showed it anyway, which is nice.
It was just an exhibition.
And it was nice. It was nice to see Fuzzy get a win as well, because I don't think at this point he hadn't won a fight, right?
At the end, he goes, "Hey, we got one."
That was so sweet.
Because it's like he hadn't won, you know. It was so cool.
It was nice to see, you know. And I hope Fuzzy comes back with something else for season 4. Well,
hyperthermia.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I think that would be the opposite, because all the robots are based on a cold theme, like Frostbite and Snowflake and shoot, what's the
Avalanche, was it?
Huh? Avalanche, yeah.
Yeah.
Like they're all snow based because they live in an area where there's
Cathad.
Cathad, which is
icicle. So it's like it's cold and it's got a sickle.
Very nice.
Icicle.
Icicle. That would be an awesome.
Why
am I not being paid for these names?
Shall we talk about another good fight?
Yes, please.
Why? Why should we treat ourselves to a good battle on this podcast? We've talked to ourselves enough. Let's continue.
There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time for not good fights.
Oh God, yeah. God, I just remember. I just seen the other 3 fights. Yeah, shit.
Let's treat ourselves to another good fight, which is Duck and Gigabyte. What a great fight! Brilliant fight.
Good. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah. Gigabyte levitating in the air, fantastic.
Yep.
Duck
doing its best Invader impression.
It really was. Just spinning and spinning and spinning, and it's just like, is Duck going to turn it off for us, or?
Yeah.
I think a lot of wear and tear for Gigabyte at the end of this fight. I think certainly showed. It was interesting to see that Gigabyte really took some chunks out of Duck's wedge. It really did. Like, which. Tombstone did.
It's not a wedge. It's a plow.
Okay, it's front. It's front barrier.
Hal has said it many times.
Okay.
all right, Mr. Technical. Come on.
All right. Okay. It's front plow. It took a lot of chunks out the front plow.
Yeah.
And it was just a really nice fight again between two opposite styles, and it was just a nice spectacle. I could watch Duck fight all day. It's just so hyperactive, and Gigabyte's just.
It doesn't die.
It doesn't die. Apart from when it does.
My jaw dropped like twice during this fight because there's 2 really big hits in this fight, if I remember correctly, and both times my chin hit the floor. Like, it still hurts now. I mean, it's nice to see Gigabyte actually work properly. I mean, I know it died in the end again, but it was nice to see it work properly, even if it was just for a brief amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember rating Gigabyte very highly initially when we did our preview. Like, I was expecting Megabyte time, you know.
We saw how well Megabyte did in King of Bots, and
if this was this a exhibition fight, or was it actually exhibition fight? Right, okay. I was going to say, because if it was a reason for it not being shown, I was going to say maybe they just didn't want us to think Gigabyte was rubbish, but because it keeps getting kicked around. But nah.
I think did Gigabyte go 1-3? Well, technically 1-4.
God, yeah, because it was in Desperado.
Who did they beat in Desperado?
They beat Double Dutch.
Oh, well, okay. Of course they did. So, they absolutely yeeted it to next Wednesday, didn't they? Cool, I remember that.
And who did they lose to? They lost to
Lucky.
That was it, Lucky. They lost to Lucky. And, so they lost 5 then.
Yeah,
because they lost. Wow.
They came 3rd in King of Bots, yo.
Wow. And they lost the Rumble. God damn.
Yeah.
Gigabyte sucks.
Well, they turned into an arena hazard there, man. I mean, that was more
fights than anybody else this season. I think is that fair?
No, I think Lockjaw had the most.
Who?
Lockjaw had the most.
Lockjaw, or was it Chomp? Chomp had 4.
Chomp had a lot. Chomp had 6 fights. Lockjaw, I think, had 7. I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Lockjaw had 7. No, I mean, lost the most fights you did.
Chomp lost the most fights, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because it lost 5. But no, Gigabyte had a tough season, and I think I think it's another case of building 2 bots at the same time. Megabyte and Gigabyte would be built around the same time. I know they're the same principle, but they're different robots. It's a lot to do.
And the team was split. I mean, it's definitely tough to not have your whole team there working on your robot. I understand that.
It was very messy, I think, and I think I know they had their issue early on with the support for the top, the cap on the spinner coming straight off and cracking and having to get a new one. I think just not poor preparation, but like they were underprepared. I think for what they were expecting. But that was my dog. If you could hear that in the background. my dog
sounded like a door creaking open.
My dog
I
agrees
thought we were going to hear Sam get murdered by something.
my dog agrees that
Look behind you.
My dog agrees that Gigabyte had a poor season, but
it had a poor season. dog.
Yeah, very good. I hope we see Gigabyte again. That's all I'm going to say.
I would be nice to see them come back and actually do something this time. It would be nice.
Yeah. Should we talk about two robots which we don't think will come back, but they might?
Yeah.
I mean, this sure was a fight, wasn't it? Double Dutch and Gamma 9.
The blades just can't stay on.
Hang on. They're, honestly, right, those weapons, right, they are as useful as an asthmatic opera singer. They're so useless. It's a shame because again, it looked really cool, but they just never bloody worked.
Yeah, Gamma 9 was really aggressive in this fight.
It really was.
It was nice to see. I mean, Gamma 9 I think is interesting because it was in a three-way rumble, and I can't remember for the life of me who was against.
It was Four Horsemen and Double Jeopardy.
Double Jeopardy, yeah.
Lovely, wonderful, thank you. That was a good fight.
It was.
Mm-hmm.
And
it had a really cool moment. Obviously, they got it at the skip for one more fight.
Gamma 9, they did though. They were a very aggressive robot. It's just they didn't have anything to back it up, which is a shame.
I think Gamma 9 is definitely a throwback to yesteryear in terms of its design. It's big and boxy. The weapon. It looks like the robot looks like it had the weapon bolted on rather than built around the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But it drove well. It didn't back down. It kept going in for the fight. Did it win in the end? I can't remember. I can't remember. I honestly can't remember.
No, I think it died at the end.
That was it. It died.
I think it did die at the end.
Yeah.
Double Dutch's only fecking win the entire time.
Yeah, it's a shame to see Gamma 9 get a beating, but they were good. I think the team were good fun this year. I think they arrived realistically expecting to not do so well, and I think that's kind of endearing towards them. Obviously we saw Gamma 9 get chucked into a literal skip by Bronco. It was amazing.
Fair play to them. Yeah. Fair play to letting them do that. I mean, the Worm team in Robot Wars, they did it themselves.
Oh, yeah, they
let another team do it for them. I think that's amazing.
That was so funny. Where they just literally lobbed what was left of Worm in the bin. Yeah, Gamma 9. What a thing that was.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we crack on? Shall we? Shall we?
I also just learned that Kevin Long, the guy who built Double Dutch, also built a robot called Chomp for season 3.0. Did not know that.
Well, speaking of Chomps,
unrelated.
Unrelated.
That's what I'm leading into.
Let's talk about Chomp because it had two more fights. Apparently,
great.
We hadn't had enough of the internet trolls this year, and we wanted to have some more Chomp action. Well, this one, however, this fight, they actually won. This
was a grudge match, so hey.
It was a grudge match. It was a grudge match. Kraken and Chomp.
They did not win. Kraken lost.
Kraken had such good strategy. He just got flipped.
Much like...
Here's my notes, right? Here's my notes, okay?
Yeah.
Chomp managed to miss 6 fucking times with its weapon, which means it didn't hit once, by the way, because that's all 6 hits.
Oh, God.
Kraken does all the work and then gets pulled over.
I have to say, much like Valkyrie earlier, Kraken is another robot which I really want to see more of. The more I watch Kraken throughout season 3 and here, I just think, damn, this thing was really good.
I got to see a version of it in Orlando. It was called Kraken. It's Krakin apostrophe.
All right.
But it's a beefy robot. Like it fights like a wrestler, where it just kind of grabs and throws and suplexes.
The biggest thing that they need to do for next season, put a Shremek on it.
Please.
Or make it invertible, or something like that.
Because Kraken did surprise me, because obviously when I first saw it, when we did the video, the very first video for season 3, obviously I thought to myself, it's not.
It's a fun robot, but not serious.
It's a comedy robot. Yeah, it's not very effective. And as we saw it, yes, it didn't really do very well. And then that fight against Red Devil made my eyes just pop out of my head. I was like,
if we think about
where
Kraken,
was this earlier on in the season?
If we think
also,
about...
Red Devil, rest in peace.
Yeah, Red Devil. RIP. If we think about Kraken, who did it? Because it was in the Desperado, and I think it made it to round 2, didn't it? Because it lost to Lockjaw, and that's because it got flipped over.
I think it was because it lost to Lockjaw in the first round. Though.
Was it round 1? Okay, so most of its fights were because it got flipped over. I think with the Streamek, and I'm sure Matt Spurk's probably thinking about, he's already thought about this already.
Yeah.
I would, just there's a little bit more. I genuinely think Kraken would be a really, really good contender. Like,
yeah,
it's a decent machine. It's a decent machine, and it looks good. It's got a good, good theme going on. I really like Kraken, and I desperately hope we see that again in season 4. I really do.
We really didn't get to see it like outside. Like the first 2 times we saw it on for like with the fight nights, it was in Rumbles.
It was, yeah.
So it really wasn't a center attraction.
It was in the 2 Science Channel Rumbles, wasn't it? It fought Shock Opera and Deviled Egg, and I can't remember the other one. It was
Mohawk Gemini.
There you go. See, Chomp. I will say for Zoe Stevenson, I'm so glad they got a win.
Yeah,
I'm glad.
Definitely.
Like, it would have been a really, really hard season. If they'd have gone 0-6, that would have been like.
For the only robot to beat the current champion, it's.
I know it's the only one that's beat. Mate, Chomp is the best robot.
It's not. Shut up.
No, it is. It's the
I had
best.
to chuck it in there.
I hate Chomp. You know I hate Chomp.
Chomp's...
Against Zoe, I hate Chomp. You know I don't like the robot. Don't do this to me, Sam.
Chomp is best robot.
Well, shall we move on to the best fight?
It's like saying Granny's Revenge is the best robot.
Shall we move on to the best fight as well while we're at it?
Get out, all right?
This fight, okay. This is
not even a fight.
Again. I was made privy to this before it. Like I can't remember who told me. Someone told me that that there's this fight, and it's like, and people were kind of like, Jesus, this is bad. I didn't quite believe them, like how bad it was going to be. Oh my god! I mean, nothing against either team. Yeah. I know Basilisk has its issues, with reliability throughout BattleBots, and Chomp's Chomp.
This is the kind of fight that makes your eyes bleed.
This is
This fight was as fun, but watching this battle was as fun as putting your pubes in a paper shredder.
Oh, listen,
this was like what was it? Foxic Mr. Speed Squared? Was that?
This is worse than that.
We don't mention
this is
that.
worse. So.
It's BattleBots' version of Warhog versus Napalm, ladies and gentlemen.
So the reason why I think this fight's worse than that. Again, this is nothing against the team, but it was a shocker. It really was a shocker.
Yeah.
The worst thing about this,
and we're just having a laugh. I mean, this is one of those things where it's like we know it's super hard to make these robots. I get it.
It happens. This
something didn't work right here.
But the best thing is, right? Obviously, Chomp's pinned on Basilisk and can't get off. All right, Basilisk because its drive at the wasn't the best anyway. It was too heavy to move Chomp and it at the same time, and the fight carries on for like another 2 minutes and they're stuck together. And you just can't like, oh god, just put us out of our misery, Jesus! Just call it.
Maybe. Just maybe I should actually count them out.
Yeah. Just call at worst, separate the two. Come on, they used to do that.
And they used to do that. Why don't they do that anymore?
I know it's a lot more unsafe these days because the robots are more powerful. I get that.
I get it.
But
it's Chomp and Basilisk. Come on.
Yeah.
I will say this. Fair play to Chomp. Its beach whale impression is fantastic.
Oh, really? It was amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait to use this fight as the thumbnail to trigger everyone.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Literally in my notes, I didn't even take note. The only note that I have is Farouk making a reference to the judge with Chomp. That's it.
It is indeed. But
I'm going to say this quickly, all right? And this pains me because I don't like Chomp.
Yep.
But I have to give it some credit.
Yep.
It actually hit Basilisk.
It did. It gave it a good old. It gave it a good old whack.
It actually hit an opponent. I mean, it deserves the clap. Fair play.
Yeah.
Mate,
Fair play.
I think Chomp got the clap after this fight. I mean, come on now.
Chomp got the clap.
That's just wrong.
Look, listen. Again, to everyone out there, if before the Keyboard Warriors come out,
and we're off the air.
This is we have well and truly been taken down. This isn't we're not digging at the teams here.
No.
Problems. These robots are especially a robot like a Chomp is hideously complicated.
Yes.
A million and one things going on, and the only reason that Chomp couldn't get up is because it was pinned.
Yes.
And there was nothing it could do. Like, it's the reason it can self-right is because it has those arms, which were off the floor. I just think it was really, it was entertaining. Like, the film The Room.
Yeah.
That film is entertaining because it's terrible.
do not.
I do not.
You're tearing me apart, chump.
That film is amazing because it's terrible. This fight is amazing because it's terrible.
It will go down in infamy as being one of the worst BattleBots fights in history.
Yeah.
And
my dog agrees.
I don't think that's a bad thing because at least it's memorable.
People will remember this fight purely because it was something special. It really was.
Yeah. That's why I personally think that the if anything, the worst offender in this lot of battles was probably that the UK versus the World Tag match. No, World UK versus the World Tag match, because just nothing special happened. It was just forgettable. Yeah. It was bland, boring. Nothing really stood out, but it wasn't so bad that it made you laugh at it. It was just there.
At the end of the day, this fight, I'm sure, there's a lot of. I believe it is the most viewed fight out of all of them. These fights are all on YouTube. Okay.
What is wrong with you people?
these fights are all on YouTube.
Do you like to just mess with yourself?
Yeah.
Jackass proved to us that people like torturing themselves. Okay, it's just that sort of thing.
You got the great fight, which is Overhaul Valkyrie. That has 18,000 views. Duck versus Gigabyte. Two big names, 40,000 views. Chomp versus Basilisk has 63,000. Why?
Because it's the most recent one, right? I mean, that's possible.
And the other Chomp fight has 60,000. People are just baiting on Chomp.
People love it.
People love it. So
what it is it's just all the keyboard warriors wanting to moan about Chomp. I mean, don't get me wrong, I don't like Chomp myself, but I don't go around, slamming it into every comment section I find available.
Yeah, like don't this fight is poor, but at the end of the day, it happens, right? It happens. Yes. And
I mean, these are going to happen with how many fights there were this season. You're going to have one that's a
Chomp at this point. Okay, maybe it fought Basilisk first. I don't know. All right, but it's had the absolutely living shit kicked out of it by Hughes by this point.
Yeah, it had a rough draw.
Yeah, it's lost to Warhead, it's lost to Warrior, and it lost to someone else. I can't remember the other one.
Yeah,
but it was Overhaul, wasn't it? It lost to Overhaul. So it's already lost 4 times.
Yeah.
It's just it's one of those unfortunate things where the fight. This fight was just one of those unfortunate moments where it didn't quite happen for them. And on another day, if they just hadn't got caught on it, it would have self-righted. It would have won the fight. Let's face it, it would have done. But
if those pistons had worked at all, it's a shame. We never really got to see those.
Another team. They are another team that I would love to see back. I really hope that Zoe and the team come back for another crack at BattleBots. I don't know off the top of my head if they are, but
with a different robot, please, though.
A different design. I don't care if they call it Chomp again. It's just
different design at least.
Something a little bit different.
Even if it's an axe again, just make it more controllable. Don't make it too overly complicated.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why it doesn't do well is because it's too overly complicated.
Well, I think the fact that it's it overbalances itself and flips itself all the time. I think it's the big issue.
Yeah.
But you know what? I love Chomp. I like Chomp personally. I think Chomp's it's an entertaining robot. It's not necessarily good, but it's entertaining.
Yeah. But I do agree with less trust in attack, more trust in your own ability to drive the robot.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. I hope sincerely that they come back. I hope they.
I do too.
Yeah. Zoe's a wonderful engineer. We've all seen the inside of Chomp.
I'll be honest. She's a great engineer. And to be honest, BattleBots would feel empty without her there.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more.
Also, Basilisk was in this fight. So.
I mean, Basilisk was this his first win?
I mean,
or did he win the tag team fight as well?
I don't
think so.
I love how it's winning this one, by the way. Right? I love how it's winning this one. It didn't flip.
It didn't move.
Chomp. It didn't move, let alone flip anything. Yeah, it loses a battle where it actually flips something. Fucking hell.
Basilisk, much like Chomp, Basilisk is a beautiful robot, but I think the issue with once again trying to turn around a robot in 4 weeks isn't necessarily the easiest thing to do, and I think
the scales are pretty high there. I will say this though, they've given us this great fight. It's very memorable, so thanks for the memory boys.
Honestly, I will. I have to give it massive credit as well to BattleBots. I know obviously they did it for season 2 with all the rumbles and such, but I'm glad they put it all onto YouTube for us to watch. It's they might not have been the best fights, but at least they unlike Robot Wars where they didn't upload anything on their YouTube channel. You know,
Yeah.
they didn't put the pilots up, they didn't put the whiteboards up. BattleBots, I have to give them huge credit for doing exactly that. You know,
and BattleBots have tweeted before that, or was it on Instagram? It was one of the social media giants that they posted that they have tons of fights on tape that they don't know what to do with. So
post
maybe
them
we'll
post them on
day.
YouTube. Do it.
You know,
if you're out there,
I mean,
BattleBots. Yeah.
We'd love to. We'd love to pick them apart.
Imagine all the reviews. Anyway, I think that pretty much wraps up this episode. I hope you enjoyed our little spiel at the end with Chomp.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of people.
Chomp always does that to people, man.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people were waiting for our thoughts on Chomp versus Basilisk. So
oh yeah.
I hope we've filled the void for you. I suppose the next time.
I think discussing this battle has taken longer than the whole video itself.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. But do you know what? I'm excited to see what season 4. I know our good friend Mr. Psycho is actually flying out, and Orange Dose Overjuice as well is also flying out.
Yeah.
They're both flying out to go watch BattleBots being filmed. So I hope those guys have a good time.
Yeah. I wish I could go. I know
I would if I wasn't poor.
I'd love to, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
For me, it's just time. I could put the money aside, but it's the fact that I'm in school and I'm trying to get internships for the summer, and I have senior projects that are taking up my life. So I mean, there's that.
Yeah, exactly.
If you guys watching or listening want to see all the Robot Wars YouTube personalities go on tour to BattleBots for season 5 if it happens, please send us lots and lots of money. Thank you.
There's no link to it. We'll link our PayPal if you want to make it happen. But
yeah, my bank details. No, I'm not really going to do that.
Can I have your security number, Anderson? No. Okay. Yeah, so thank you all for watching it. I've really enjoyed doing this, and we'll see you, I suppose, next time for BattleBots.
Yeah, we'll see you in 6 months for that.
No, we need to do it before that. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed watching it. Anyway, I've certainly had fun doing this one. It was worth the wait. It was worth the wait.
Yeah, and it's been good doing this again. I mean, this is our first podcast together since BattleBots, hasn't it?
Yeah,
that's
November.
what? September?
Yeah,
November, sorry.
Yeah.
September, tit.
But anyway, I've been Sam 64.
I've been Anderson9132 the Rebels Guru.
And I've been Steve, the American Killjoy.
And we three will see you next time for our review of BattleBots, the Beetle Weight series uploaded to YouTube. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Ta-da.